Why are TV ratings so important? Or are they important anymore? This question seems rather simple on the surface, but it becomes more complex depending upon the answer that you're looking for and depending upon who you're asking. So let's dive into what will likely be the most dominant form of media for the next decade, which is that little box called television, because of broadcast, streaming. I think we can do this. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, hiss and foes, welcome to the Culture Casino!
Superficially, TV ratings break down the popularity of a program, or a slate of programs, and of course, everybody knows this. It's common knowledge, but everybody also knows that ratings actually determine ad rates, and those ad rates can change given on the time of day, whether or not you're doing prime time, if it's a weekday, if it's a weekend, if it's a special event, such as the Super Bowl. And these ads pay for the network productions. It pays for the development of programs. It pays for, the production of the program, and it pays the bills because they've got a lot of them. So advertisers are incredibly important to broadcast television, and any form of media, because anything that's broadcast is supported by the ad revenues. There are other ancillary, streams of revenue, of course, but primarily advertising. So it obviously is important to the conglomerates, the big media conglomerates we're talking about, that actually own these broadcast interests, especially, again, as I said, with primetime hours. Now, network executives make choices based on ratings every single year, and from year to year, and often make changes during the year based on ratings. So the question always emerges as to whether or not the ratings themselves matter or the share of that particular group that you're targeting matters. And in this case, the overall share of the population that was watching TV at a given time. And those numbers are different and they mean different things. So for right now, though, I think most executives seem to be favoring ratings over share. Because if they're paying attention to share, there's a lot of stuff that wouldn't be happening right now. And the cycle of a TV program after it gets some form of order from a network is a pretty simple one. It gets handed off to a unit production manager who establishes a budget and puts all the stuff together, goes into production, yada, yada, yada. And once it goes into production, it's up and running, and they have a bunch of stuff in post ready for, viewing. It's determined whether or not it's going to hit the primetime schedule. And it's then presented to the media, believe it or not, at a press event, which is usually called an upfront. And the network executive that does the presentation on that given day does very similar presentation to what we saw on Disney's Investor Day. I actually considered that an upfront for the entire company and everything that it was working on, because it seemed like an upfront for their streaming products, amongst other stuff. So the media, as I said, presents what they will be showing to some more media. So it's a regular circle event, which is a nice way to say that. And if you're adding a new show to the mix, something that's appealing and shiny, networks have resorted to rebooting old shows because it's easier. I mean, this answers the question that we keep asking. Why are we seeing so many reboots or remakes of old properties? And it's simply an effort to cash in on the old glory or the name recognition, or both. The networks have become so risk averse at this point that they no longer take any kind of a gamble on something that doesn't already exist in some form in the public zeitgeist. They're terrified. So this year alone, if you're looking at what's hitting, the airwaves, the networks are rebooting shows like Walker, Texas Ranger, which I've talked about here, Kung Fu, which I've also talked about here, and The Equalizer. And that just names a few of the programs that are being rebooted this year. Of course, these reboots, they bear few hallmarks of their original program, and they're often utilizing, a cheap way of inserting an agenda in most cases. Let's just say it's laden with agenda garbage that just happens to be wearing a new name of something that may have been beloved at one point in time. Ratings are actually presented in a unique way. They're presented as two different numbers. The numbers of households that watched and the percentage of all households that watched TV during that particular given time slot, let's say from 8 to 9 p.m. Now, let's take that into consideration when we look at a program like, let's say, Batwoman. It seems to be a hot button right now. And let's look at the premiere, because that's something that already has all of its ratings in as far as the national final numbers. So Batwoman scored a 0.21 in the demo and a 0.7 share. Those are official broadcast nationals. That's not a big show. So not many people actually watch the show. I mean, obviously. In fact, the revised numbers of the total people that watch the program in real time or in time shifted, live plus time shift, was 659,000 views. Or people, I guess, technically. So these numbers are actually lower than the preliminary national numbers that came out like 2 days ahead of that. You know, immediately the numbers that follow the day after. So, put simply, the 0.7% of the total viewing public in that time slot actually watched the show. 0.7%. Now, how many advertisers are willing to pay top dollar for only 0.2% of the audience? The audience that's viewing this program? Not many. And again, that's 0.2% of what's in the demo, right? Not 0.2% of what's watching in the given time slot. So why would you be paying that? How much are they charging? Is it like $2,000 per 30 seconds? Because, I mean, that's ludicrous. I mean, you're not going to pay what the average is, which is $115,000 for your 30-second spot on a network television program in prime time, like Batwoman. That's garbage. Believe it or not, and this is going to surprise a lot of you, the CW secured commercial advertising commitments of over $650 million last year. In fact, the number is a little higher than that. And if you were an advertiser, wouldn't it be smarter just to go straight to the local affiliates to do your advertising? Because those price rates per, CPM is what they call it, are hovering between $5 and $25 per thousand. At least that's 1,000 households. But I don't know. I mean, wouldn't you rather pay a couple $1,000s rather than $115,000? So really none of this is making any sense. But hey, seldom does. This show and many others like it, especially on the CW, do not have the ratings to support them just existing, right? If they don't even have a financial backbone that's going to support this. If you consider how much it costs to produce 28 minutes to an hour of, broadcast television. And why are they still existing? Why don't they have to compete? It all comes down to actually this high-level answer that you're going to get from a lot of executives nowadays. And this seems to be driving entertainment, which is driving most of us absolutely crazy. Low ratings don't always mean cancellation, as that program may also be profitable through streaming deals, syndication, international ratings, and social media influence. It's the last bit there that protects these shows from, having to compete in the theater of ideas like everything else. So, for example, for Warner Brothers, having a tiny network that exists only to produce the propagandist-laden pablum, that isn't a big deal because you're underneath this giant corporate umbrella of AT&T. And it's easy to explain away that you have a network that does nothing but virtue signal. So we have our answer there, right? As to why these shows can still exist, but why this entire network still exists? Baffling. And watching other networks struggle with the same kind of thing right now, this is really going to be interesting because in the coming days, I'd watch the new shows that are going to be premiering on CBS. In fact, they are actually going to be carrying The Equalizer. And we should see how that fares over the first few months. CBS is in desperate need of some really good programming. I mean, they need it badly. And if this show ends up being pretty messed up, as I think it will be, we'll be able to see that in real time. Speaking of The Equalizer, I have a video all ready to go for Wednesday talking about this program and its reboots, so keep your eye out for that. In closing, I just don't understand. If you have some thoughts on this, it would be great, but understand that these ratings, they're dismally low. I don't understand. It doesn't make business sense to me, and that oftentimes is the most frustrating part for me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, a little bit of information on what's actually going out, what the rating system actually means. If you want clarification, even more, we can certainly talk about it. Utilize the comment section below, and I will absolutely be glad to get back with you. Of course, thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys' support. It's amazing. Be sure to support other independent content creators as they desperately need your help. They really do. Right now, YouTube's algorithm is even more skewed towards mainstream sources of entertainment and information. And right now, that's not why you come to YouTube. You come to YouTube for people who are a little bit different, to say the least. Anyway, as I said, thanks for being here today. Be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye.
Hey there, one last quick note before I let you go, and before we make it to the end of this video. I, CultureCasino, have a brand new Teespring store. That's right, you can now go to Teespring, look up CultureCasino, or use the link in the video below, and pick out some handsome and beautiful CultureCasino merchandise with many different designs and styles and colors, many different items. I was actually surprised at all of the things that you could create, and I have some more designs and items on the way here shortly. But, if you want to support the channel in that way, there is some merch. Otherwise, here comes the ending. Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.